Round 1. Fight.
Heroes never die.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite store on the Citadel.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Power, sex, power. They both come down to one thing.
Hungry gamers.
Hello, and welcome, boys and girls, to the 240th episode of the Hungry Gamers podcast. We are powered by ATEBIT.net and those sexy legends over at Audio Technica. I'm your extremely humble host, Brendan White. You can find me just about everywhere at Brendan8bit. And joining me today, the Rebecca Chambers to my Barry Burton, my podcast Ride or Die. Find her on them socials at Miss Ellie Hart. Miss Ellie Hart, how the bloody hell are ya?
Howdy. Oh, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm a bit tired. My sleeping patterns this week have been woeful, but I'm chugging along on black coffee and dreams, and the adrenaline that is completing Resident Evil Village during the week, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good here this Saturday morning, Saturday the 8th of May, as it would be right now.
That's actually really impressive. I was very, very curious. Like, a part of me didn't doubt that you would finish the Resident Evil game, but then I was like, I know life can get, pretty hectic for some people. So, but now
it can indeed. And I'm partway through my second run through on the old hardcore difficulty, and that is very true in every sense of that word. The normal difficulty was a challenge at times, but hardcore is ridiculous, I've got to say. It is testing my mettle, and even though I know sort of what's coming up now in this second run, it doesn't make it any less scary and any less tense because I've got less bullets, they do more damage, I'm in more trouble, so it's pretty scary.
I haven't played it. It's on the list. It's on the list to. Let's be honest, I might not actually play it because I'm too chicken shit to play it. So I might have to watch someone else to play it.
Yeah, it's great that it's getting some positive reviews. Like, obviously the game dropped yesterday around the globe, and at the moment it currently sits on 84 on Metacritic. So
that's good.
Pretty good. Like for sort of recent comparisons, Returnal is at an 86, and it's getting touted as a potential Game of the Year candidate. So maybe come end of the year, RE Village will get in that same type of discussion. At the moment, I loved it. Like, I adore this franchise and where they've taken this game and this style from Resident Evil 7, where they obviously shifted it from third person to first person and went into a more of a traditional horror sense outside of, I guess, the traditional old shuffling zombies and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Made it more about atmosphere, or the series has always been about atmosphere, but yeah, they've really doubled down on that in this. Like, the location is great. Like, we're running around Europe. We're in sort of this little tiny village somewhere in or around Romania. Like, it doesn't directly ever get addressed, but like, that's what it heavily alludes to, that you're in this tiny village somewhere in Romania, maybe behind Transylvania. Who knows? Who knows? So maybe hence the tie-in with the vampire undertones that we've got in Village. But I guess in a nutshell, if you take Resident Evil 4, which was the sort of the departure into the action focus, and then Resident Evil 7, chuck it in a blender, that's what Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village is in
really
essence.
Good combo. My first Resident Evil was Resident Evil 4, and I enjoyed it for the most part when I played it. And then 7 I didn't get to play, but I've seen enough people play it, and it looks good. Like, it looked like 7 really went down a different route of scariness. I've heard a lot of contradictory statements based on how scary Village is. Some people are saying that's not scary at all. Some people are saying it's the scariest one that they've played. Where does it sit on the scare meter for you?
It's scary, and it's scary. Like, it's really scary in parts, and then other parts it's more actiony. So, like, where Resident Evil 4, there was some moments where it was like the heart was pumping and it was tense and terrifying and traumatic. But then there was other parts where it felt like a third-person action shooter.
Yeah.
So it goes down that path. Like, the first probably half of the game is where the scares, I guess, really exist primarily.
Okay.
So the game starts with obviously you're playing the role of Ethan Winters again, who was the protagonist in Resident Evil 7. The story is like this is set 3 years on from the events at the Baker residence there in Louisiana. And Ethan and his wife Mia, they've just had a daughter named Rose, but off the back of Resident Evil 7, they sort of got put into like witness protection and got moved to Europe due to the situation with 7. So that's how they end up in Europe. So yeah, 3 years on, but then, you know, it opens nice and you got this cute family moment, then it just escalates from there. And, you know, the story of the game is Ethan trying to track down his family and rescue them from the big bad that is in this European village. Because yeah, there's a very interesting cast of characters at play in Village. Like obviously Lady Dimitrescu is the pronunciation that's been confirmed. Like you hear that constantly in the game. So yeah, Lady Dimitrescu is obviously the 9'6" tall vampire goddess that everyone wants to get stomped on by. You know, so she's one of the key cogs in this machine, but like she's sort of like underling's probably a little too harsh. Like there's 4 lords. So in this European village, there's 4 lords that sort of fall under, the sort of the main boss there. You could say that's running over the whole place. So they fall under Mother Miranda that you hear like in the trailer. She's talking to her on the phone and everything else like that. So Mother Miranda's like the big bad. And then there's 4 bosses, which is, Lady Dimitrescu. There's Carl Heisenberg, Salvatore Moreau. And then there's also Donna Beneviento. So they're the 4... They're the 4 like main bosses that you fight, and each one of those 4 have their own unique biomes. So they've got their own distinctive worlds, and in these worlds or these areas that they inhabit, the play style of the game differs. So which is kind of cool. Like you've got the Lady Dimitrescu and her daughters. It's in the Gothic mansion. It's like the Spencer mansion from like the first Resident Evil. So it's got more of that sort of traditional survival horror game you're used to. But then you go into a haunted house in the second biome, and it's very like PT vibes, very PT. And those two slices are probably the 2 scariest parts of the game, at least for me, especially in the mansion. In the haunted house, I should say, sorry. There's parts in that was scaring the absolute fucking shit out of me. There's some encounters you have with certain enemies in there where my heart was like beating out of my chest, and it was like run, got to survive, rah rah. Like I'm gonna avoid spoilers, but yeah, my goodness, those two biomes are those 2 sort of hub worlds with those 2 lords that you've got to work your way through. Were and are probably the scariest parts of the game, at least for me. And then you've got 2 other areas. So you've got with Salvatore Moreau, he's sort of described as the merman. Like remember in the opening like lead off trailers leading up to this game coming out, they had that really cute Tim Burton-y gothic like fantasy story that sort of played out in some of the trailers.
I remember that.
Yeah. So they lean on that a little bit in this game in the opening, and you can see that these 4 lords are sort of directly or indirectly referenced through this book. So, Salvatore Moreau is like this mad scientist that sort of describes and looks a bit like a deformed merman. And so he's got like a submerged reservoir hub world is his. And then you've got Carl Heisenberg, who's sort of the leader of this werewolf group. And he's working out of like this big industrial factory. So you've got 4 really distinctive worlds that you've got to run around in to sort of progress through the storyline. So it's nice that you get different environments, very unique locations, very unique play styles. And on the back of that, each one of these 4 hubs have different enemies, like different sort of underlings that you'll be fighting your way through to get to those 4 lords to take them down. So it's kind of cool that you get these 4 different slices with the overarching game itself.
So would you say that they've actually like kind of created these 4 sections so maybe gameplay or whatever doesn't get dull and you don't feel like you're kind of repeating yourself, so it introduces different play styles as well?
100%, yeah. Like if it was just more shooty run and hide, shooty, it would get a little bit tiresome. Like there's one of these hubs, not gonna sort of narrow it down to what and why, but there's one of these hubs where you pretty much get stripped of your weapons. So it is just running, hiding, creepy ass fucking atmosphere, lights always flickering on and off, and you got a little dimly lit torch, so like it's just dialing up the tension and you're defenseless. So they sort of keep shuffling the deck as far as how the game plays out, and it's really good because it keeps things fresh, keeps you on your toes, because in these games, as you know, there's a lot of weaponry you get in Resident Evil. You start with your lowly pistol, and then you get your shotguns, your magnums, you get the heavier artillery, and when you start getting those guns, you do start to feel a little bit more powerful, a little bit more comfortable in pushing into fights. But there is always that ammo scarcity. So even though you can hold your own in a lot of fights, you're constantly looking at your bullets and you're like, oh no, I've got one clip left. Is this going to be enough to down this boss that I'm fighting right now? Or do I need to then resort to something weaker and hope that I can get through? So there's that constant juggling. On the juggling, one thing I like is they've split the inventory system up. So obviously with Resident Evil, it's synonymous with constantly backtracking and going to like a storage container to offload gear and bring certain items you need for, opening doors or puzzles and stuff. What they've done is they've gone with the Resident Evil 4 giant suitcase or briefcase menu structure where you can sort of shuffle and rotate items to make it all fit like Tetris. Mm-hmm. But as far as like the puzzle items, the keys, valuables and treasures that you can sell, which to the Duke, which we'll talk about in a second, that's actually in another section. It doesn't account to your inventory space. Oh. So all you're worrying about now with inventory space is your guns, your bullets, your health items, and then some creature-based items, because with the Duke, there's a cooking mechanic. So if you give him a certain sort of set of items, like whether it be a couple of fish and like some meat or some rare meat, he'll cook up a dish and it'll give you like a permanent health increase or a permanent like damage sort of nerf, so you can sort of take less damage when you're blocking and stuff.
Love it. That sounds awesome. I love that they've done that with the Duke. Because I like as soon as they introduced that character, I kind of liked him. There's something that I really liked about him. So, cooking element.
I'm a fan of him, to be honest. Like in the trailer, like I was opposite. Like I'm like, who is this giant obese man that is just randomly trotting around Europe and selling you goods and buying your goods and stuff like that? But he actually does serve a purpose in the game, and he's a good sort of plot device where he'll give you some insight occasionally here and there. Oh. He does get a little bit meta, and when you go into him once or twice here or there, he'll actually, in his accent, he'll be like, "What are you selling?" And then he's like, "Oh, that's actually a funny line that one of my friends says in another part of Europe." So it was like a nice little nod to Resident Evil 4. But he's great.
I read that someone posted recently that like within code that people found that like there was a character that was meant to, like, it was like listed in the game, but he didn't actually make it into the final cut. So
yeah, there's I was looking last night at some of the art for characters and early concepts, and it was interesting that they were wanting to bring in some notable characters from previous game entries. But yeah, overall, it's sort of, it's as far as the characters, it's you've got Mother Miranda, you've got the four lords underneath her, you've got Ethan, Mia, his daughter Rose, you've got the Duke, and then there's a couple of others, but overall, it's a fairly focused affair as far as the characters you'll be dealing with and interacting with. Mm-hmm. The different sort of underling enemies that you're fighting along the way, you've got your Lycans, which is obviously your werewolves, and then you've sort of got like these hybrid, I guess they're sort of a mixture between a vampire and a zombie. You're fighting a lot of those. And then there's a couple of other different enemy types in that sort of reservoir, sort of submerged world. And then in the industrial factory, don't want to say much, but it's sort of like almost like got like Wolfenstein vibes as far as enemies you fight. Like, mechanically engineered and modified bodies and stuff like that. No, there's no like reanimated Hitler in there or anything like that. It's but the four hub worlds are really great. So you get a different slice, a different experience. There is the constant where you are running and traversing back through the village, pretty regularly. But the cool thing with that is when you tackle one of these biomes and take down the Lord, you'll get a certain key or an upgrade to this ongoing key that will then grant you access to certain parts of that village, so you can go grab certain treasures or weapon upgrade modifications and stuff like that. So it pays to explore and backtrack a little bit and go off the beaten European track, whether it be hunting these random animals to then get those dishes or to find these treasures. Because with the Duke, you've got obviously the store there where you can buy new items, but you can also upgrade existing items you find, as well as selling treasures. And treasures you get awarded to from killing everything, whether it be the high-end bosses will give you like something pretty rare with high value that you can sell off for a good amount of credit in game. But it's very expensive to buy good items or level up your guns to a high level. So it pays to go digging around to try and find these treasures to make sure you're packing the best weaponry you can when you're going into some of these battles. Because the boss fights, like, to be honest, like, some of them are great, but most of them are kind of just fine.
Forgettable.
Yeah, like, they don't do a heap as far as different mechanics with the bosses. Like, you know how some in previous Resident Evil games, there might be puzzles you've got to try and navigate at the same time, or certain things you need to do, where most of these, it's almost like you just can kite the bosses around an area and just chunk damage on them as much as you can.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're any less intense. Some of the fights you have, it feels like you're fighting in a bathroom. Like, there's no friggin' room to move. There's a big, like, 10-foot dude with a giant hammer coming at you. You're like, I've got nowhere to go. And you're sort of timing these movements and stuff. But the fights are intense. The characters are great. The character models themselves are awesome. Like, the 4 bosses look great. The Lycans are fucking terrifying because they're fast and they jump, like, they're coming at you off the roofs. And when they're running at you, they don't just sort of run single file straight. They'll sort of strafe and jump around. So it's hard to target them. Like, with Resident Evil, typically the controls aren't the best. It's always a bit stiff and janky. A
little bit tanky, yeah.
And it's like that too. So I'd recommend turning up the movement sensitivity almost straight away in the game. So it's going to allow you to probably stand on your own 2 feet a little more.
That's amazing, because like I can't remember who said it, but someone was kind of giving their opinion of the game, and they said the werewolves are scary. And like how are werewolves scary? Like, I always just think like Twilight, like, like how are werewolves scary? So okay, hearing your perspective, I guess I can see why they would be scary. Scary in movement as opposed to
scary in movement. Like in aesthetic, they look awesome. They're terrifying, and when they. Because some of them, they're not only just coming at you with their claws and their teeth, but some of them are like carrying swords and stuff. So they'll like swing a bloody machete at you. And like when they hit you or bite you, the animation where you've got like a Lycan face right here in your vision and it's chomping on your neck and like you see blood splattering out of you. Like, it's pretty intense. But to combat that, like the last 3 years, apparently Ethan Winters has done a little bit of military training. So hence why he can block now. So if you press L1 or LB on control, I don't know what it is on PC, I don't care. But if you press those buttons, you can sort of like block, like hold your arms up to like brace and take a bit of that damage.
Yeah.
And if you time it and press the button again just after that hits, you sort of push the enemy back. So you've got time to drop a couple of rounds into them or maybe try and stab them or whatever. So you got that. He can sort of climb certain things and jump over like little fences here and there. Yeah. It's extensive training, fence jumping and things, but in the other games, as you know, your feet are pretty much glued to the ground the whole time. So it's nice to be able to see a bit of verticality.
Yeah. Did you ever I can't remember. I know you lose your hand in 7.
Then you just get it stitched back together.
That's
like,
right.
Yeah. But that's one like observation. Your hands in this game cop so much punishment. Like, I'm not going to say what or how or why, but you'll see in a lot of these set pieces, primarily when you're getting attacked or meeting some of these first big bads, like for that initial time, it's the hands that are always getting flogged. You're getting stabbed through the hands, you're getting bitten on the hands. Like, it's a thing.
I remember seeing a quick clip of like a bug coming through your hand, and like that gives me mummy vibes. But yeah, like, okay.
Yeah, so that bug thing is from Lady Dimetrescu's 3 daughters. Like they're sort of made half of vampiric bug or whatever, and like they're flying around and sort of almost can like dissolve instead of dissolving into a bat and flying away, they sort of dissolve into like a horde of locusts and yeah, it's intense. And like some of the fights that you have and the areas where you need to escape, like you're constantly running in certain parts where you're trying to find that next door you missed or trying to find this item to open up this puzzle. And you got Lady Dimetrescu on your ass, or you've got the daughters, or a group of Lycans. Yeah, not a bad thing. I guess some people will be all for that. But yeah, the heart gets pumping. The heart is pumping because you're running. You can hear someone in the background. You're like, oh, fuck. And you're ducking into this door. And the great thing with these games too is obviously, yeah, a door doesn't necessarily mean that an enemy can't come through and get you. Like, you know, in some of the other Resident Evil games, you get through and you're like, I can breathe now, but it's like, no, boom, they're through, they're fucking in your face.
I know how to use a door.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking about how things have changed, I'm very curious, like as a major Resident Evil fan as you are, how are you enjoying the direction Resident Evil is going, where it seems like they seem to be moving away from the zombie outbreak and moving to this more like kind of, I guess, whimsy, like organic kind of supernatural like element?
I love it. I think it works really, really well. I like the change in tone because, you know, we've talked about it a few times, maybe not from a game perspective, but at least for TV and film, like there's a bit of that zombie fatigue. There's only so many ways you can have a shuffling zombie coming at you in an American post-apocalyptic scene, you know, where this is, you know, Gothic Europe, big castles, bloody fog everywhere, snow-capped mountains. Like it's a really, really nice but haunting location you're running around in here, and the different enemy types and different, even just the playstyle. Like I'm loving this first-person perspective, playing through Ethan's eyes as opposed to the over-the-shoulder third-person camera. So it's I like that they're reimagining and keeping things fresh, and it's kind of cool how they actually weave in all the other Resident Evil into this game, like where they sort of connect plot threads from the first games and like make sense as to why this game is based here in Romania and how it actually ties to the greater universe. So there's some cool things as far as the storytelling goes where they're like, oh, okay, so that's how this happens. And this person knows that character from like 10 games back and it weaves in. So it's kind of cool that they're building out the universe and making it coherent as well.
Yeah, I was wondering how they were actually going to start establishing like a connection, because all the Resident Evils are connected in some way. And then we kind of moved out to this like swampy like bayou area in 7, which was quite a change of environment. And then now we're in this like Gothic farm castle mansion area, so we're definitely seeing changes, but it's good to hear that it's all kind of connected and entwined and making sense, as well as just keeping it fresh for all the Resident Evil fans. So.
Yeah, the writers at Capcom did really well. There's a couple of moments in the game, whether it be through a cutscene or you find like a scribbled journal entry from one of the characters, and you just read it and you see who it's about or what it connects to, and there's just these big like, you know, light bulb moments where like, holy shit, you know, that's how it ties in, or, you know, that's how this person knows that person and whatever else. So it's kind of cool that they've thought out and sort of planned how all this is going to go together long term, whether it be, you know, with the eventual Resident Evil 9 and how that's going to tie in and which way they're going to take the game. But yeah, I really, really, really like the world. Yeah, the controls are probably one of the main gripes, is it is a bit janky and stiff, but if you turn up those sensitivities, it really helps. The dialogue for the most part is pretty good, but like in at least the first third of the game, you get a lot of that traditional like Resident Evil hamminess. Like there's some lines that come out, or some of the things that Ethan says. Like there's times early in the game where he's still so shocked at the world around him. It's like, mate, you lived through Resident Evil 7, you saw all these things, and then he's still so surprised at this death and these creatures and whatever else. So it's like a few times I'm like, oh, come on, man. You know, you killed a gajillion things over in Louisiana, and now this is what's freaking you out? Like, come on. And then my biggest gripe, I think, with the game is that, this game is set in Europe, but everybody has an American accent. There's like, you know, it's like Eastern Europe, Romania. You think there'd be like heavy European accents, but every character you meet in the game, it's like, you know, Shelley from Wisconsin or something, you know, like it's,
that's a shame.
yeah, a little bit frustrating there, but it's a minor gripe. You know, it doesn't break the game, but it's just noticeable where every character in the game is, yeah, it's like they've all flown in on one plane together and just settled in this village. Like,
especially if they're like, it seems like, especially with this game, your environment is very much important into the story and like the gameplay. So if they're full focused on telling you like, hey, you are in this place, and then they take that immersion away because for some reason everyone speaks and sounds the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Yeah, I could understand maybe with, say, the four lords and whatever else, maybe they've all sort of come here over time, but when you meet a couple of the local villagers and, yeah, they're talking in American accents,
howdy.
It's like, God damn it. Like, yeah, it doesn't ruin the game, but that was one of the big things I had down as a little bit of an annoyance. But, yeah, it's great. Like, it's more action than survival horror at times, which isn't a bad thing, but there is some real good horror and there's some real good set pieces and enemies that you encounter that are truly terrifying. Like, there's some fucked up character models in this game, and it's great. It's great. But yeah, love it. Great atmosphere. The soundtrack as well, like, is great, where it'll really build up and have these big crescendos. Then other times there'll be no background music, and when you're just trudging around these old creaky castles, you can just hear like little noises, you know, out of your field of view, or something above you, or like heavy breathing, or a random like Lycan howl or scream, and it just gets you on edge. You sort of tiptoe through these parts, especially in the early game when you're like feeling pretty weak.
Yeah.
So good though. Yeah, I'm a fan. Like, as I said, I'm playing through my second time at the moment on hardcore, and it is punishing at the moment, because yeah, you got to pick and choose your battles, and you know, there's certain areas you can run through where, you know, in other Resident Evil games you can avoid the enemies. You know, you sort of run around them and kite them and just keep pushing through. But then there's other times where you just can't. But we'll see. I know there's a trophy, because I was playing this on PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm.
I saw there's a trophy in there where you get this trophy that's going to lead to your platinum, where you got to finish this game in under 3 hours. So that is a fast run, very fast run.
The fact that that's possible.
Yeah, so I finished my first run through, which I did on normal. I finished, it was about or just under 11 hours, thereabouts.
Oh.
And that probably included maybe an hour worth of digging around trying to find certain treasures and solving a few puzzles, because there's a couple of puzzles in the game that's going to open up to give you some treasure, and they can be a little bit difficult. I won't say exactly what, but yeah, there was a few puzzles that stumped me a little bit, so I had to sort of try and work it out and backtrack here or there, or just take my time. So yeah, there's a good variety of things to do. The combat's great. The weapons feel good. The graphics, it's gorgeous. Like, it's, as I said, it's a beautiful location.
Yeah,
but the character models look great. The world looks great. The enemies, the soundtrack, like it feels very next gen. Like, it feels like a next gen release.
That's good. Like, wasn't it that they were considering not even releasing it on the previous gen? They were going to make it strictly new gen. So I'm glad that they gave it the new gen attention I love, because obviously new gen content that seems to be made for new gen, it's only slowly creeping out now. I feel like this one, maybe Ratchet and Clank, is probably going to be the first few ones that we see that are kind of linking up with that new gen graphics.
Yeah, but no, it feels like a PS5 or an Xbox Series X game. But yeah, I really, really enjoy it. Like, I'm a big Resident Evil fan, and this is just more of that stuff that I love. One thing I'll say, though, too, is if you haven't played Resident Evil 7 and you're picking up Village, maybe jump on YouTube and watch like a bit of a catch-up. There is a video, like when you start the game, it asks you if you've played it before, or if you'd like to watch a recap video. And they show it to you, and it's
Resident Evil.
Yeah, it's got that sort of vibe to it, but it's only like 2 minutes, and it doesn't explain everything. Like, there was times where I was playing this game where I felt like if I hadn't played 7, I wouldn't understand these references or these nods or this story as much as I did. So maybe find a little bit of a deeper dive on YouTube if you're jumping in this game without playing 7, because it could be a little bit jarring as far as trying to work out who's who and the major plot points that are getting moved around in the background.
Good to know.
Yeah, but so good. It's so good. I love it. I'm super happy with how this game came out. Really love where they're going with this franchise now, with this sort of doubling down on first-person horror. But I love that they've sort of pulled in some of the best bits from Resident Evil 4 and made it a little bit more action-y and a little bit more, combat-focused as opposed to the horror. And, there's just some creepy stuff. Like, I just want to shout out to the creepy-ass bloody puppets and the creepy-ass dolls, because I fucking hate dolls, and there's a whole thing with them, and I just felt uncomfortable the entire time, and it's great.
Can't
fucking
wait
dolls.
to see it.
Yeah, but on a definitely different tone as far as something else, I jumped in and was playing some of the new Apex Legends Season 9 that's dropped this week as well.
Oh, some of that arena action?
Haven't played Arena yet, to be honest. I was just playing traditional.
I've been watching it. Oh,
yeah,
boy.
traditional BR. But I jumped in, had a heap of in-game credits already, so I picked up Valkyrie straight off the bat. As is tradition in any of these games, when they do release a new character, it is very hard to land on to be able to play that character because everyone is trying to get on that hotness. So out of maybe the 10 to 15 games I played, I'd say maybe a third of those I was lucky to play as Valkyrie, which is okay.
That's not bad.
But she is a ton of fun. Like,
yeah.
I'm in love with this character already. Like, we're unsure about how the verticality would work and her like missile swarm, but she's great. She's so super fun to play. The little missile swarm, area of effect, little missile drop that she does is awesome. Mm-hmm. She's got some cool banter. She seems like she's got a good personality, so the little in-game quips you get between characters is cool.
Yeah.
Being able to fly and sort of float in the air when just regularly with your jump, like if you press A or X on a controller, and then press it again, you've got like a little short amount of fuel, so you can sort of fly up to areas for a certain period of time.
I honestly thought they were going to
awesome.
make flying like a special ability. So the fact that flying is just like built in, like not obviously flying, but like floating.
Yeah, picture like, Horizon's got her little gravity portal thing that she can deploy. Picture that, but you can obviously go a little bit higher or sort of go horizontal movement as well.
Slight weird reference. Is it like in No Man's Sky, how you have your jetpack and you can kind of float for a bit?
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it, most definitely. So, yeah, it's got that impact to it, and then her ultimate is called Skyward Dive. And so what that is how when you go up one of the balloon towers, you go up the rope and then you sort of zip line and then you can fly. It's like that. So she gets the jump jets going. Your two squad mates can actually like hold on to the sides of you, and then you just fly up into the sky, and then you can sort of escape. So it's really good in that regard, where you've almost got one of those balloon towers on demand to get out. So maybe your zone's coming in at you, or it's getting a bit spicy. There's a few times we were playing where it was like, holy shit, we got to get out of here. There's squads coming everywhere, and I'd pop that ulti, and they jumped on your back, and then you're out of there, and then you can just sort of reposition somewhere else to sort of rethink your strats.
That's a pretty cool ult. I could definitely see how that would be like beneficial. It could take you into the like combat. It could take you out of combat. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool. And yeah, it got that utility where you can be on the defense or the offense, depending. But yeah, she's cool. Got a couple of wins already. Got a nice back-to-back with her and a couple of randos. And then,
nice.
Then a few other wins where I was playing Wraith again because I missed out on Valkyrie. But yeah, it's she's a great addition. Mixes things up a little bit as far as that play style and another new character that you've not only got to learn to play as, but also learn to play against.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because that little rocket salvo she does, it does good chunk damage. Like if that gets dropped right on you and you're in the middle of that thing, it can knock you down pretty quick. So it's great to finish off or like sort of shut off areas because she's dropping a massive chunk of missiles in this little sort of rectangular box area, and you can see the little red landing spots if they're coming at you. So you sort of obviously got to hide or retreat or stop. So it can give you some time to breathe and push in. Also, I was using a lot to finish off enemies. So once they're down, you just spam that in there, and it's a good way to get that kill. So
clean them out.
yeah, she's cool. She's a great addition. Haven't played any arenas yet. That's next on the docket. But yeah, digging Valkyrie. Be playing some more of her over the weekend, and also finally cracking into Returnal. But yeah, I've had the brakes on that one this week due to this new patch coming out and it potentially ruining your game. So I'm like, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait a little while until this gets sorted.
Thoughts and prayers to every single post that I saw on Twitter where a person saved. Like, they said that they did a run for an hour and then they left it on kind of like pending, and a PlayStation would update and then all their work would get undone. Oof.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. And that's something that I do not want to experience. So I'm just like, I'm waiting. Patch this out, Sony. Get it sorted out. House Marquee, do your thing, and then I'll come back. So I'll jump in for the first time. But yeah, just cannot speak highly enough of that Apex Season 9, but also Resident Evil Village. I think it's going to be one of the best games of 2021. I wouldn't say, like, what else have I played this year that's big? Nothing really big's come out this year now, I think about it. Hey.
I guess not. Like, there has been titles that have come out that have been maybe big for other people, but not like major titles.
Yeah, like I'm blanking. Like obviously Cyberpunk sort of bled into 2021.
Yeah,
because it came out in December, but it's certainly one of the front runners for best game of 2021 so far. And yeah, really recommend it if you're looking for a good bit of good action and a good bit of scare. But Miss Hart, we'll quickly check out a bit of housekeeping. So obviously, if you want to support us, you can do so over at kofi.com/weare8bit. For low price of $5 AUD a month, you get early access to several podcasts, exclusive access to podcasts known as Is This Thing On?, as well as automatic and bonus entries to random giveaways and other things we'll be doing in that space too. If you want to do single purchase and get yourself some exclusive swag, obviously the 8-Bit Founders Coin is available on there for $20 AUD delivered anywhere on planet Earth. And also our Star Wars family portrait. You can get immortalized as your own self as a Star Wars character of your choosing for $50 AUD, as well as a copy of the final family portrait once it is complete. But if you can't support us monetarily, that's fine. Obviously, if you can rate, review, subscribe us on your podcast player of choice. Preferred to be Apple Podcasts if you can, but we'll take them anywhere. But Apple Podcasts, it's great to help us track and trend on them charts. So yeah, be sure to rate, review, subscribe because it helps keep the emotional lights on in our hearts. We'll have our May giveaway up this coming week as well, giving away a nice assortment of swag. But to enter for that, just simply, leave one of those ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts, screenshot it, drop it in our DMs, email us a copy of that review, and you're automatically in the draw. If you've done this already from our April giveaway, your entry will carry into subsequent months as well. So if you already entered from last month, don't worry, you're in the draw for this month if you weren't the winner, because that was Limo Tank picking up our April giveaway. But Miss Hart, what do you think? Shall we jump in and talk about some Audio Technica before we get in some news?
Let's do that.
All right. Listeners, whether you're a budding podcaster, streamer, YouTuber, or just an audiophile, Audio Technica has you covered with the best range of audio equipment in the market today.
If you've listened to us at least once before, there's a strong chance you've heard us talk about our podcast's origin story and the fact that Audio Technica have been with us from the very beginning. Our very first mics that we ever hungry gamed into were the AT2020s. As we all know, you never forget your first. Navigating the world of video game and pop culture with the leaders in audio-based equipment has been quite the journey. The news might not always be the most positive, but our audio quality most certainly is. Audio Technica are your audio-based one-up.
And listeners, you can start your content creator journey with their Content Creator Pack Pro, which includes the AT2020 USB Plus microphone, AT-M20X headphones, and a handy boom arm to mount that AT2020 USB Plus mic. It is the perfect kit to get you started on the road to audio-based greatness. If creating content isn't your thing, fear not, as Audio Technica can upgrade your vinyl recording listening experience with a sexy range of turntables, improve your KD ratio via their market-leading wired or wireless gaming headsets, or just improve your general listening experience thanks to their wide range of headphones that come with all the latest bells and whistles. You want Bluetooth, you want noise cancelling, in-ear or over-ear, they have got it all. There truly is something for everybody over at audiotechnica.com or audiotechnica.com.au for us AUNZ-based listeners. On to some news.
This week's news headlines.
All right. Target acquired rapid-fire shots around the industry this week. First one, Nintendo Switch passes 84 million units sold as company records record profits. The company earned its best ever operating profit of $6 billion USD and its second best year of revenue at $16.6 billion. Nintendo Switch now sits 84.59 consoles and 587.1 million games sold. By comparison, Wii, Nintendo's top-selling home console, shifted 101 million consoles, while the Wii U struggled to hit 14 million. So, the Nintendo Switch is on track to write further records for Nintendo with the next probably year or so, probably pushing it past that 101 million.
I mean, are we too shocked that especially the year that last year was, a lot of people were trying to get their hands on Nintendo Switches? Like a lot of like mainstream people were definitely trying to get their hands on a Nintendo Switch. There was that massive like shortage that happened last year, right?
Yeah, big shortage, and we'll probably get a little bit more of that happening this year as components become harder and harder to source for electronics. Yeah. So get in while you can, Nintendo fans. But it's crazy too. So that averages out to say 6.5 games per Nintendo Switch sold. So
I guess that makes sense.
So it's it's good that they're investing in grabbing a little bit of variety potentially in their game purchases.
Yeah.
But 16.6 billion, that is a lot of cash. All right, the next one, which was interesting, and I don't think anyone in the world requested this, but it's happening anyway. John Rambo coming to Call of Duty Warzone. The announcement on Twitter that they sort of tied this into was absolute fire. So they had a Survivor John hashtag 1009-062 they were like, does anyone know who this is? Their Warzone report is a sight to be seen, and they pulled it up, and the KD ratio was listed as infinite. 552 kills, 7 hours played, 5 games played, and 5 wins. That obviously ties into the amount of Rambo films.
Yeah.
So old Sly Stallone or John Rambo has killed 552 people in those 5 movies, which is insane.
Is this a purchasable character?
So it falls in where it is paid via a skin, from what I'm understanding. So you do have to pony up the Johnny Cash to get Johnny Rambo.
So I like that. So Warzone is going down, because technically Call of Duty always had the little like battle passes, and then as well as the cosmetic collections that you can buy in game to decorate your guns and also dress up certain characters.
Yep.
This being specifically Rambo is kind of reminiscent of like your Fortnite, your Mortal Kombat, so I'm wondering if this is just going to be the start of many.
It makes sense, obviously with this sort of flavor of Warzone now set in the 80s, maybe they're going to do a bit of an action, an 80s action star dive, and we might get a Chuck Norris, we might get a Van Damme, we might get an Arnie.
There is
Can
a
you
Chuck
imagine?
Norris. I would totally get a Chuck Norris. Oh, he has to have a cowboy hat though.
Yeah. Get some Walker, you reckon?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So maybe they're going to go down that route. We're going to get a little bevy of 80s action stars making their way to Warzone, which I'm not upset about.
I mean, I don't really play Warzone, so I don't really have any skin in the game. But yeah.
Yeah, but the internet was at least interested. I'm not, but cool. And their announcement that accompanied that I thought was pretty clever, highlighting his killing prowess from those films. So the next little quick hitter. Sony have been sued for limiting purchases of digital games to the PlayStation Store. This is a bit of an interesting one, hey?
Yeah, well, I mean, at first, because a lot of places that were reporting this story was saying that PlayStation had the monopoly that you could only buy games from their store. And my first thought was like, no, you can buy physical copies anywhere. But they mean digital copies. And so what it means is that, especially over here, you could buy like digital codes off Amazon, or you could also go into your GameStop or Target, and they would have like little cards hanging in the game section where you could just like buy the card as opposed to like a physical copy of a game, and then you'd buy the card, take it home, and then add the code in. But that's all been taken away now, so PlayStation Store has the monopoly on being able to sell you a digital product. So it seems like people are gonna try and take them to church for that one.
Yes, they make some interesting decisions, old Sony, at times, as far as restricting and denying or controlling the sales narrative. Like, you can't deny their success and the fact that they still are the flag bearer as far as console success and power, but just some very anti-consumer choices that they do constantly.
Yeah, like, it's with this particular story, like, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, that's kind of crummy, but then I always think about the Nintendo e-store and how that alone is just one of the biggest rip-offs in gaming digital media out there. So I don't know, I think Nintendo's just as bad. So
yeah, I guess maybe we could be a little less shocked, right? Like, everyone with Nintendo, like, perfect example you said there. Like, everyone sort of just accepts it. They're like, oh, that's just Nintendo. That's just how they do things.
How they be, yeah.
Yeah, where they sort of, get a little pat on the back. It's like, oh, them Nintendo at it again. Where Sony were like,
cheeks.
These fucking dodgies.
You little rascals, Nintendo.
Yeah, so maybe it's just going to become more of that, where they're just like, yeah, it's Sony. It's what they're doing. Meh. Yeah, just as long as they aren't trying to gouge you and jack up prices. Like, if they can make it reasonably costed, comparative to, I don't know, EB games. Like, you can't, especially for Aussie-based gamers, JB Hi-Fi is for the most part the benchmark as far as getting those sweet game deals. But yeah, if you need to want to, or if you want to get them digitally, and Sony's the only way to go. Hopefully the pricing is reasonable, but I have my doubts. Something else that's a little bit of cool news this week. Microsoft has announced that another 74 games have been given the FPS boost treatment, bringing the total number of boosted titles up to 97. The new set of 74 games includes several Assassin's Creed titles, 3 Far Cry games, and a bunch of Lego games. Oh, and also Alien Isolation at 60 FPS. God, that game's so good. It's so good. It's so scary. It's so great. But this is awesome. It's great that we're seeing Microsoft and Sony and co doing these sort of fidelity enhancements to games, and just this FPS bump just makes these games look so much more smooth.
Just adding that little extra spit shine to them is good. I need to get the list. I need to see what actually has received the buff, and maybe see if I can see any kind of difference in gameplay. Yeah,
we'll grab that list. We'll chuck it in this episode's show notes as well. But 97 games on, in Microsoft's portfolio now that has that FPS boost treatment. So that is awesome. The next bit of news, this one took me by surprise. Obviously, we've been talking about this company in detail here and there over the last couple of months. We're talking about Discord, and we're talking about the potential that Microsoft were trying to crack in and buy them for $10 billion. But on the back of that, this past week, it was announced that Sony are working on Discord integration for PlayStation. So, a little bit of news here from Eurogamer. It reads, if you want to team up with friends on both PlayStation and PC, there's good news for you, as Sony has announced a partnership with Discord to put the voice chat system on the PlayStation Network. In a blog post, Sony Interactive Entertainment President Jim Ryan announced that Sony is already working on integrating the service into PlayStation Network and plans on bringing, in quotes, the Discord and PlayStation experiences closer together on console and mobile starting early next year, end quote. Sony has also made a minority investment as part of Discord's Series H funding round. The post is a little vague on exactly what that integration will look like, but it still seems positive for those wanting an easier way to communicate when using crossplay. So this... we were just poo-pooing Sony a minute ago, but this is smart. This is great. Gamers have been clamoring for this for a while. Like, Discord has become the comm hub for gamers, and the fact that it doesn't jump on or integrate there is some third-party apps that Dodgy Don was telling us about on Twitter. You can download an app on the Xbox store to sort of tie into Discord to have chat going. We still need to try that sometime.
We do
to see if it goes well. But this is a nice step nice first step here from Sony, bringing Discord onto the PlayStation ecosystem.
Yeah, considering that everything fell through with the Microsoft Discord deal, we could only imagine the moolah that Microsoft was offering to Discord to actually essentially just take them under their wing. But this is a partnership with PlayStation, so I'm assuming that PlayStation really offered up a good investment whilst not taking over. Like, by being a partnership, I assume Discord keeps a lot of balls in their court, a lot of hands of control, and still get to have that connection with Sony, and obviously the dollary dues that come with it as well. So it's very smart.
Am I silly in thinking that it feels like it's such a long time, or like a long way away still? Like, it sounds like you'd have this announcement and it'd be available next month.
Instantly,
yeah. Like I'm no technology savant, and I don't pretend to know the back-end ecosystems of a Sony bloody dev kit or how that'd integrate with Discord, but early next year, like, it could be 12 months away. It feels like an announcement that should have happened, and it's like, yeah, as you said, it's available right now, or it's available next month, but in 12 months' time, what's stopping Microsoft to back up an even bigger truck to Discord and say, yo, we're buying you now. We've seen this power play by Sony. We're buying you. Here's 15 billion or something instead of the 10, you know? So what's going to happen in the next 12 months with Discord?
Well, maybe it's good because obviously they have to develop an application that works well on the Sony interface. And then I don't know how major the inclusion of like doing crossplay between PC and everything like that. Like, I don't think it would be too difficult, although Microsoft has been a pain in our ass.
Can confirm.
God damn. But maybe this will be something that they'll drop, like maybe like E3 time. They'll say like, oh, blah, 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 Discord and PlayStation, blah, 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 and it's available now. Like, you know.
That makes sense. At one of their PlayStation experience events, and big state of play. Who knows? But it's still cool. It's interesting because we've sort of been, going negative to positive, and now we're going back to negative as far as Sony chatter here. So, we love Sony. Nothing against them. I adored playing Resident Evil Village on my PlayStation 5. Funnily enough, that's the first time I've played my PlayStation 5 since before Christmas. So, there's that. But loved it. Gorgeous. I didn't even mention, too, doubling back, the DualSense controllers. The resistance on the triggers was awesome. But anyway.
No, thanks.
In different news, Epic boss says Sony charges publishers a cross-play fee in certain circumstances. This comes from Eurogamer as well. Epic boss Tim Sweeney has said Sony requires compensation from publishers for cross-play in certain instances. In explosive comments made during the opening day of the Epic vs. Apple trial, Sweeney said Epic agreed to the fees in order to get cross-play going in Fortnite. And the quote reads, in certain circumstances, Epic will have to pay additional fees to Sony, and this was initially reported by The Verge. If somebody were primarily playing on PlayStation but paying on iPhone, then this might trigger compensation. The Verge also reports that Sony's policy stipulates publishers can't transfer virtual currency to or from PlayStation, and there must be a setting to disable all cross-platform interactions. The Verge also says Sweeney confirms Sony is the only platform holder that requires this compensation for crossplay. So,
snitching. I loved it. Like, this whole Epic and Apple trial thing, I kind of have stepped away from it because it felt like, as it's continued on, there's like a lot of like back and forth and a lot of like shit talking. But this one where he like, what's his name, Sweeney, like just straight out says, by the way, PlayStation's a bit of a bitch.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
It's been very interesting, like this Epic vs. Apple trial, because there's stuff that's coming out from it that is just unrelated to the trial. Exactly. Where they were like, I saw a quote come out yesterday or the day before where it was like, Microsoft thought that Breath of the Wild 2 was going to be out in 2020, and it's like, what's this got to do with Epic vs. Apple, But it's somehow coming out and making the news and whatever else. And like, there was some positive spin I saw in it though. I'm sort of not quoting this verbatim. It's just from my memory, but I saw another one where Microsoft had a quote saying that they were extremely impressed with what Sony did with The Last of Us 2 and said it sort of reinvents storytelling in gaming. It was like a very positive quote that came out of this as well. But yeah, circling back to this, Sony, the only one saying, yo, you got to pay the piper to make this crossplay happen. Like, and even though we were making jokes earlier about, that Nintendo, they're not even trying to gouge a slice out of this thing. So it's Sony standing alone on the top of this hill. But I guess
you can't play Apex. Sorry, I was like, you can't play Apex crossplay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yep, Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember way back when this discussion about crossplay between PC and consoles, and there was always this discussion, and then I was like, yeah, Microsoft's all about it. We want to step up to the plate. We want this crossplay. And there was always that little gossipy, shitty console war thing in the corner where it's like, PlayStation's the only ones that are holding it up. They're doing it on purpose. They don't want to do it. They blah, blah, blah. And now it's just like, yeah, look. They're literally holding a ransom of okay, we'll do it, but pay us.
Yeah, it's immortalized now in a legal transcript,
yes.
That's now in the public domain. But Rocket League was the first game to sort of break this mold. And I know there was initial resistance from Sony about it because they didn't want to have to house things because it was all done through the Microsoft Xbox Live network to do these connections. So they were like, yeah, you'll steal our player data and user data, and we care about our users. But it sounds like maybe they just were waiting for another zero to be added to that check to say, yep, we'll take your money now. We'll allow this access. But yeah, it's interesting. It did say in here that it's certain games. It doesn't happen on every game and every type of circumstance. So it's nice to hear that at least it's not every single time. But I'd love to know what kind of regularity this is where they're like, yo, pay up, sucker. Otherwise, this ain't happening.
It's great. I always, when I read this, I'm like, this is so Sweeney hasn't been the most mature person online. So just having this little factoid kind of come out and, yeah, like you said, now in official, documentation now that can't really be taken back.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's so
funny.
Great. Yeah, it feels like, especially with all those other unrelated leaks and things popping out, it feels like it's like a high school drama.
Yes.
Where they're like, I said this, well, you said that. Oh, and did you know that Sally did this? It's just like, God damn. But yeah, we'll see more of that as this legal proceeding goes through, continues to go on with Epic versus Apple. But the last bit of news, which I think is phenomenal, by the way, before we jump into it. So the headline, we won't even worry about the headline, just jump into it. So this was, some info we grabbed from IGN. Nintendo has announced Game Builder Garage, a new game that will let you learn to make games from the minds at Nintendo. Its guided lessons and cute characters are designed to help you create a multitude of gaming experiences. On the face of it, the new game looks a lot like Dreams, which was released on the PlayStation 4 in early 2020. It also seems to be in the spirit of Labo, which encouraged kids to craft unique items using cardboard. Game Builder Garage is designed to teach visual game programming by connecting creatures called Nodon. There are dozens of Nodon in Game Builder Garage, each with its own unique function. Lessons will be available to teach you the basics of designing games, with free programming mode available for those who want to go wild. Builder Garage will release on June the 11th for the Nintendo Switch. This thing looks fucking great.
I think this is awesome. I unfortunately never really jumped onto Dreams as a game. I liked the idea. It was a bit curious to me, but then again, it shouldn't surprise me that PlayStation was the group that did it, especially when they had Little Big Planet. Was that what it was called? Little Big Planet?
Yeah.
Which was about world building and building your own kind of levels and such. So then you had Dreams, which was about creating essentially your own game. And some of them weren't even games. A lot of people created amazing stuff on there. And now seeing a group like Nintendo now are kind of offering this. And Labo was it was a flop, right?
Labo, as an adopter of Labo, I have Labo. It's a fad.
Yeah.
You're not dismissing what it was and
what it was trying
the cool
to do.
experiences you could have out of it, like building your own controllers or, peripherals that then integrate into these games. Awesome. Super fun. Really cool, unique, quirky experiences. But yeah, it's not something that you're like, I feel like playing games today. I'm going to play Labo again. Like,
let's load up the Labo.
It's like, it's like it's a nice, cool tech demo, you could say. But this looks awesome. Yeah,
it looks amazing. And like for it to be on like let's just call it a family-friendly device as well. I think it's exciting for kids. I think it's amazing.
I love the idea. Like the thought of, having kids or having your kids or whoever, even if it's older, like people our age or older or anyone in between, like anyone that's have an interest in designing a video game, this is a great first step. Like it's not the same as grabbing the Unreal Engine and trying to build something out from that, but this is a great like gateway to this world that could really ignite this fire in a young kiddo or an early like an adult, or like in anybody like that's been curious about making a game and maybe have just been a little bit too overwhelmed or hesitant to try and grab these dev kits and start building out. Where you can get this and they'll handhold you through it to just show you the basics and teach you the fundamentals, and then maybe that could springboard into something more.
Exactly. And I think that's great because I'm only trying to imagine this from the perspective of like me growing up and like having access to something like this. Like the closest thing that I can think of was like having a Neopets page and then teaching myself how to do some code so I could customize it. And like that was the closest that I got to being given something and learning about like the inner workings of the internet. But like something like building a game, like I think this is fabulous. And like I said, Dreams already existed, but then like now Nintendo getting involved and seeing some of the stuff that it looks like you can do as well just looks great. So I think this is awesome.
It looks good fun. The art style is that very quirky and whimsical Nintendo stereotype. Like the art style and especially the color palette reminds me, of Labo and like snipper clips and stuff like that. Yeah. Just really fun. I'm going to be picking this up. Like it's out next month, which is cool. So short release cycle turnaround from announcement. So it's out on June the 11th.
God, it's June next month. Oh my God.
It is June next month. Yeah, it's the 8th of May right now, or 7th for you over there in America. But yeah, it is transitioning into the second week of May already for 2021, which is terrifying.
Scary. Fucking scary.
Yeah, but check out Game Builder Garage when it drops next month. I'm in. I'm buying this day one. I want to play with this and see what kind of quirky, interesting things I can build out.
Yeah. I just can't wait to see also what some kids build. I think it'll be great.
Oh yeah. I'd love to see like something, maybe not Game Builder Garage, but like in a few years' time, I think we're going to have some type of development in the curriculum for young kids for game design or something like that. I think it'd be awesome.
It's already in high schools here.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So good. More of that education system. More of that.
Yeah.
But that brings us to the end of the news, so we might pivot over to this.
New releases and events.
Obviously, if you're listening to us right now on day of release, which would be Monday, May the 10th, episode 240 THG in your ears as we speak. But if you want to get on some games, Hood, Outlaws and Legends is out today as well. And that's available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC. It's got a bit of a For Honor vibe to it, but set in the Robin Hood type of universe for those curious. Mm-hmm. Looks interesting. It's not a day one purchase for me. Like if it drops on Game Pass, I'll certainly give it a bit of a look. But for now, I'm going to pass. No shock to the game. I know a few people like Wilco is keen as a bean on it. I think he like early adopted this thing and he can't wait to play it. And from the early beta he played, he said it was really fun. But yeah, if you want to get some Robin Hood meets For Honor, Hood is out this week. Jump into Tuesday the 11th if you want to, come and listen and watch and laugh and maybe shake your head a little bit regarding the world of trading cards, digital or physical. You can check out Pulling with Panda at 7:30 p.m. AEST, twitch.tv/PullingWithPanda. See myself there. You'll see Panda and a slew of other guests. But if you want to play some games that day, Destiny 2 Season of the Splicer is hitting platforms. This trailer that dropped last week, it is, 80s synthwave sci-fi wet dream.
Yeah, Neon Tron, Blade Runner, it's like they finally kind of paid attention to what some of their fans are really into and threw it in the game there. It looks cool. It
does look cool.
I like the kind of, I guess, story device that they've kind of added into it, that you kind of have to go into technology and stop a guy. But the best thing that came out of it was the little, baby burrito. What are they calling them? The baby bean burritos?
It's so cute.
That's absolutely adorable. I think this is the first time we've actually... Oh, no, I guess technically we see eggs and larvae, but this is the first time we've really seen baby versions of the animal. And on the subreddit, all the people are saying they're new content of Season of the Splicer, but everyone's attention is to the baby. It's kind of like the Baby Yoda.
Yep.
Yeah, everyone's kind of gravitating to it that way.
It's that meme where the dude's walking with his girlfriend and he's looking back on. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that one. Yeah, so that's dropping Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll see the release of the latest Comedy Rewind, available on all those podcast hosting platforms, and it is tackling Superbad with Ryan Betson from Pop Culturist joining Australia's John O'Peck for that one. Thursday, we'll see the return of the Hungry Game Show, and this episode is going to be Bioshock, with Kat Benstein jumping on. So she has been doing a lot of great work, not only in the horror space with her TGIF podcast, but she's also the head of Turn Left Distribution, who was part of the ANZ-based PR and marketing campaign for Resident Evil Village. So
nice.
We've got Kat jumping on to test her mettle against Bioshock in the Trivia Battle Arena. So that's going to be fun. If you're wanting to view some stuff on Thursday as well, Spiral, the Book of Saw, hits cinemas here in Australia.
Cinemas. It only hits cinemas apparently, so...
Yeah. No luck for
Thanks,
you,
guys. Yeah. Well, I'm a big Saw fan, and they said, yeah, cinemas only. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah. I'm going to watch it. I have zero expectations. The last few Saw movies have been so shit. So, hopefully it's a bit of a soft refresh and reboot. Chris Rock as a serious detective is a bit of a strange one for me.
Samuel! It's weird. It's whack. There's a lot of things in it that don't add up for me and are a bit weird. And I'm kind of and I even looked at the list of actors and I'm a lot of money went into 2 actors and it seems like the rest was kind of just whatever. But
yeah.
I don't know. I am definitely a person that looks at Saw with rose-tinted glasses. Even the really bad ones, I'm still kind of I'm all right with them. I even played the video games. So.
Whoa. Rough. Yeah, so that's dropping. And also Castlevania, the 4th and final season, will be dropping on Netflix on Thursday the 13th. Moving over to Friday/Thursday, depending on where you are in the world, Mass Effect Legendary Edition drops on all them platforms. So you want to get that Mass Effect trilogy upgraded and improved and, just having all that Commander Shepard awesomeness. You can get that this coming week. And Love, Death and Robots Season 2 drops on Netflix on Friday, which I'm keen as a bean for.
I didn't see the first one. I still need to watch it.
It won't take you long. Allocate 2 hours and that season will be done for you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. They're only they're standalone little 20-ish minute episodes, and I think there was 8, Some of them were fucking phenomenal, though. So I'm curious to see what kind of stuff they bring out for Season 2 of Love, Death and Robots. I loved it. Great little show.
I remember it getting a lot of hype.
Yeah. And then next weekend, not going to confirm if it's going to be Saturday or Sunday yet, depending on my editing turnaround time, but we're going to have the Resident Evil Village spoiler cast dropping sometime next weekend, and that sees myself and Ryan Betson again from the Pop Culturists joining me to talk all things Resident Evil Village. So we're going to go non-spoiler and then dive deep on all the nitty-gritty of Village in podcast form next weekend. So get hyped for that.
Yes.
But Miss Hart, that brings us to the end of THG 24T. Anything else you want to say or add before we get on out of here?
Yeah, I have been brought my attention to a game that was released for iOS and Android, and it's done by a team in Australia, actually in Melbourne, and it's called the Eastern Market Murder, and it's a AR true crime mystery. And what it is that, like, if you're based in Melbourne, you can actually play this game and solve this real life crime in the streets of Melbourne with AR. Yeah, like it's I got this email and it's like, it sounds fantastic. So it's done by the team from True Crime Games, and like it's Australian as well, so you know, always support Australian. And unfortunately, if you aren't in Melbourne though, they do have a setting so you can obviously play at home. But I know we've got a lot of listeners across Australia, so we've obviously got a good chunk that are based in Melbourne. So that is called Eastern Market Murder. It's out on iOS and Android, so check it out. Give it a look. It sounds amazing to me. I love my crime, so
it sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
And with PAX a couple of months away, maybe I'm going to wait to play the game till then. And actually, I'm heading down to Melbourne next month sometime, so maybe I'm going to play it. I'm going to walk the streets of Melbourne and solve this crime, and I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, True Crime Games. No guesswork there as far as what that studio focuses on.
Yes.
But this game, Eastern Market Murder, sounds cool. I'm going to give it a spin next month, and I'll report back after my trip to Melbourne and hopefully some success that I solved this murder there. But that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, that brings us to the end of THG 240. Thanks for stopping on by. Much love, 8-Bit Nation.
And stay hungry.
You've been listening to The Hungry Gamers, one of many gaming and geek culture related podcasts from the 8-Bit Collective over on 8bit.net. Check out more episodes on your podcast service of choice. And while you're there, please be sure to rate and subscribe. Until next time, boys and girls, stay hungry.